The conflict in Yemen has crippled the country and led to a humanitarian crisis. The UN says more than 2,000 civilians have been killed since the month of March. More than 21 million people are in need of assistance. Many of them are on the brink of famine. That's 80% of the population. At least 2.3 million people have been forced from their homes, and an estimated 15.2 million people across Yemen now lack access to basic health care. Johannes van der Klauw is the UN humanitarian coordinator in Yemen. He joins us now from the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Sir, just paint us a picture. We saw the reports just a few days ago talking about the country basically being at a tipping point, heading towards what people like yourself classify as being famine. But day to day, for real people, how bad is it?
The situation in Yemen is indeed very bad for the average Yemeni. You mentioned the figures, these are staggering. The situation has not improved since the escalation of the conflict since end of March, notwithstanding all the humanitarian aid efforts we have deployed. So we are still very concerned that if there is no effort by all the parties to the conflict to end the hostilities, by declaring a ceasefire, if that is not happening soon, then the humanitarian situation will really develop in a catastrophe. We should not forget that the humanitarian condition in the country are not only the result of the current conflict, but also of what was already a protracted humanitarian crisis over years as a result of lack of development, lack of good governance, lack of human rights, lack of employment. So Yemen was already and is still the poorest country of the region, and this conflict has only aggravated the situation.
Just to be clear on one particular point, when you're talking there about issues surrounding, say, the infrastructure and how your people on the ground need to do what they want to do, is Yemen heading towards being a failed state?
There are a number of signals which make us worry that is going to happen, but it's not too late. We see indeed that even the parts of Yemen which have been reclaimed by the coalition-backed, internationally recognized government, the southern part of the country, at the moment there is a breakdown of law and order. We see a number of militias surging, and that had all the ingredients, if we don't intervene quickly, that the country is falling apart. It's not too late. This is one of the issues which needs to be discussed in next week's peace talks. How the country has a governance structure, how law and order can be established or re-established, but also how the hostilities can be put to an end. Because if this conflict persists, these groups which we see now surging in Yemen, like Al-Qaeda and ISIS, Daesh, will only get more space, and this has to be stopped.
The signals of what you're discussing, we've been receiving them for a long time now. I'm intrigued as to know why the international community hasn't done more for Yemen over the past year or so.
Well, the international community, of course, has done a lot behind the scenes to get the parties around the table. But the conflict is very complex. There's the special envoy of the Secretary General, which have been untiring in getting now these peace talks next week happening. The international community has also come forward with funding for the humanitarian actors on the ground. But the problem is that we face, as humanitarians on the ground, numerous obstacles related to access to the population, because as long as the conflict rages, we cannot reach those who are trapped in conflict zones. But also where the conflict is less, we are faced with bureaucratic obstacles, with parties who want to control where the aid will be brought. There's a risk of diversion of aid, and these issues have been hampering our efforts to scale up our response to what is this unprecedented humanitarian crisis in Yemen. So again, the talks next week should address these issues, should create space for humanitarian actors to be able to reach out to all those in critical need, because the humanitarian community is in Yemen for one reason, that is to address the needs of the people. We are there for the people, and we need to work in all neutrality, in all impartiality, and all independence.
Johannes van der Klaauw in Nairobi, thank you very much.